Hello everyone. Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine you are at the doorway of a dark room. Well, when you see the dark in the room, without thinking anything, you assume that it would be dangerous, so you decide not to step in. Well, even there was some thought in the bottom of your heart there would be something valuable, beneficial in the room, you assume that it would be dangerous. So you decide not to step in. Well, after some time, you flip the light on and the room is illuminated and you find there is something really valuable, beneficial, or you liked. Well, dear friends, what might have happened if you just walked away with your pre-assumption that this room would be dangerous? Probably you'll miss that opportunity of getting that valuable thing that you wanted that was in the room. Well, isn't this the case? I know this is a very high level fancy story or a constructed example, but isn't it the thing that most of us face on a daily basis? Me personally, I make so many assumptions about different things without experimenting. I make beliefs. Sometimes these assumptions turn into beliefs that I tend to cling on to, which I realize that they hinders my growth. At certain time, it causes me to lose opportunities. So I tend to remind myself that I should not cling into beliefs and assumptions without putting them into experimentation or having some thought of try to find out whether this is true or not. Well, dear friends, let's investigate this topic today. So I told you almost the core idea of the video and the talk that I'm going to present you today. That's about clinging to beliefs and assumptions without experimenting them. Well, is this a big issue? Probably on surface, you might not feel that's a big issue because if you are busy with your routine and doing daily activities, you tend to follow a pattern which is not actually affected by this. But if you try to think deeply, these pre-assumptions, preconceived notions of what you think about things may have a major impact of your daily activities and the results that you get from the work. So, one of the things that I want to talk to you about in this video is about limiting beliefs. So, you might think, you might be really good. Like, for an example, I do research, I do other activities, I take classes, everything seems to be okay and fine. But sometimes unknowingly there might have been things that might have limited me. So I have certain assumptions about different things that I can do or cannot do. But if you think deep, I might have actually not put them into test. Let's say I fear swimming. I think I can't swim. And also sometimes I think I'm not a good driver. But have I tested it? Have I tried taking lessons, practicing, or actually getting into a pool? The answer is no. I of course have got into pools, but never taken swimming seriously. Again, swimming is another example. It's not about swimming. Sometimes we don't experiment different venues. Let's say if you are a student and if you're in college or in university, you might not be taking certain classes. Oh, if you want to switch your stream, you might be not doing it. Anticipating, thinking, assuming that you're not good. Maybe you think that you're not good in math. Maybe you think you're not good in analytical thinking. Well, if you're not good if you're not good in analytical thinking, have you tried to analyze something, or have you met somebody who does the work really well and ask him what is the procedure of analyzing something, thinking about something? Have you taken some examples, questions and tried it? Or have you taken lessons or practices to level up the skill? So when it comes to skills, it's bad to believe that skills are not innate all the time. We could cultivate. So one of the things that my current supervisor believes is that most of the skills are transferable and we cannot categorize students with their inherent capabilities. He believes that if we can impart the skills, the necessary set of skills we can make the person expert in that particular field. Because at the baseline, most of us have an average level of intelligence, capability, capacity. So if we nourish ourselves with a certain set of skills, definitely we can plant that seed of developing something and becoming an expert. That's one thing. So if you look at these limiting beliefs once again are thoughts, assumptions, or maybe predictions that limit ourselves from achieving something. Very simple. We don't know to do that. What are the causes of this? The first one, as I said, it's our own thoughts that we make, that we construct. But the causes for that can be certain childhood experiences or other experiences, or like maybe what you see from the society, or you try to compare yourself with someone. All those can be a result of some experience that you had. But still, you have to ask, it was a result of an experience, but did I test it properly according to a proper methodology? Let's say you're in a research group and you're surrounded by really smart people. They are really good in their particular aspects. And then you see that, and then you make an assumption. Well, okay, I can't do that, this statistical analysis. I can't do that experimentation. I can't run that software. I'm not good at coding. Oh, I'm not good at thinking. You might make that assumption. Oh, you're at a workplace and you're working with your colleagues and co-workers. They might be doing things faster. They might be typing faster, making projects, submitting them, doing certain exams and maybe another masters to level up their selves, like their level of occupation. And you look at this and think, well, I can't do any of this. I can't type fast, I can't read fast, I can't do work fast. Therefore, I'm not good at this. So therefore, I'm not going to try this. That's wrong, my dear friends. Without making that notion, assumption, you have to set aside maybe the childhood. Nothing is permanent. So therefore, even your thoughts, feelings, and your assumptions aren't permanent. If you decide to flip the switch, turn the light on, you can do it. I know, again, it's easy to say than done. But once again, if you think deep, sit quietly and try to develop a methodology, like a method. Let's say you're not good at typing and therefore you're not trying to compete. But can't you take some free software? I know there's some software called Typing Club that I have been trying to use. They are not sponsoring or anything, but I have been trying to use this website to train myself to touch type. That means type without looking at the screen. So if you want to type faster, if that's a skill that you need to develop, a very basic skill that will help you, you can take those lessons. Those are free. Have you taken them? Have you tried it at least for a couple of days? Just think. And then if you assume that you can't type faster, try doing that. And after that, you can come to a conclusion. But don't turn your assumptions into conclusions or beliefs. Probably, if you try to put yourself to test, you will realize that you can achieve. You can achieve the thing that you want. It doesn't have to be like leveling up yourself. No. Maybe even like taking a rest. So that's one thing that most of my friends, colleagues tell me that I, of course, can have to rethink. And also, last weekend, I participated in a talk by a famous by a speaker. It was a leadership training, the keynote speaker. So her thoughts made me realize whether certain assumptions that I make about work and life balance, or about the work that I put into, I try to question myself to see, is that true? Okay, so let me check the name of the keynote speaker was, I'm forgetting the name right now. I need to check. Let's see. She was Tiana Soto. You might be able to find her on the internet. She's Tiana Soto. And her thoughts, her speech made me put myself into test regarding the assumptions that I made about work. That's an example. So somehow I need to emphasize the fact that our notions can be distorted, and then we can deconstruct, we can break them down and put ourselves to test and challenge ourselves the beliefs, and also always come to a conclusion after testing something or knowing the real facts. And also, let's say, well, you might ask, by doing that we'll get positive results, but avoiding that or not doing that, would that get us negative results? Would that result in something negative? Well, I would say yes. Again, if you put yourself to test, you will get positive results. But if you try to cling on to these beliefs as well without testing, again you can get negative results. Why? Let's say you resist change. We all need change in this dynamic world. And change will help you and accepting that change. So most of us are reluctant to change because of our assumptions that we make, our beliefs that we make ourselves. You might not realize until you think about it well. But for an example, let's say if I'm a teacher, I should be able to adapt to new teaching technology, teaching methods. I need to experiment what is best for my students. If not, I fail as a teacher because I cannot be applying all the techniques that I knew earlier, assuming that would work to each and every child. It doesn't happen. Children are different and I have to be dynamic, adopt new technology, adopt new methods, adopt new techniques. It doesn't mean that I have to adopt the technology, but I mean the techniques, change the techniques. So if I don't do so, what will happen? I'll be stagnated, I will miss opportunities, right? You can relate this to anybody in any walk of life. So I told you about the positive or the advantage of testing yourself, breaking your assumptions, and I also pointed out the negative effects of not doing so. Well, so if you look at this, there's a statistic which says that 70% of the individuals experience some personal growth after challenging situations, which shows that if you can put yourself to test, that will ultimately help us. Same example, going to a gym and changing your perspective on health. If you try to think, oh, you can't go to a gym, like I'm not this gym person, I'm not this trying to be healthy person, but it's okay, let me like be the way I want, because not just because you don't like to be healthy, just because you assume that you cannot do that. Oh, you don't want to go to a gym and then try to lift weight because you are not done, and everybody else in the gym is like really good at exercising. That's how I thought when I moved to the US, when I started studying at UW Madison. There was a big gym and I was surprised there were so many people the first day. Literally the first 2 days I didn't do anything. I just put my bag, didn't even remove my jacket. I walked around the gym. But later I realized when I try to do something, I don't weight heavy. I'm not the person who will lift the heaviest weight. I lift a basic weight, sometimes just the bar. But I noticed that nobody cares about like how much you weigh. Sometimes they would appreciate that you are trying to do something, or else most of the time they do their own workout because we are concentrated on ourselves. How do you put that to test? While you exercise, just try to see whether you are paying attention to the others. No, you are just thinking about yourself and thinking whether others would look at you. That's what. So I tried, when I go to the gym, I try to think, am I looking at the other person, and then try to judge other people, or like, even if I judge, does anything happen to the other person? No. It's the same for me. Get the reciprocity. Like look at the introspection, like look at your side from the other point of view. Even if they judge, it doesn't matter, because he's not going to come and scold you, laugh at you, scold you, or even hit you. So we had to do this. So this is actually a source from UW Health, which is like from my own university. I'll try to find the link and put it down below if I can. So now I have spoken in length about this topic of the disadvantages of clinging on to assumptions and positive advantages of breaking them and testing yourself. Well, I have another good example. I came up across this person, a lady called Sahitha Lochana. So I didn't get to read about her in depth, but I saw that she was a cancer survivor who lost a leg amputation. So, and then when you lose, even if you lose a finger, that's a big trauma. That's a traumatizing event. Just imagine you lose a limb. How traumatizing, tragic is that? But this lady would transform this tragic, traumatic experience into an opportunity for growth. She started helping other patients, cancer survivors with amputations, and then founded this program that supported thousands of cancer patients. And so this demonstrates how much you can put yourself to test and find opportunity without making pre-assumptions. She might easily made an assumption that once you lose a leg, you can't do anything. But that's not the case. Recently, I saw another person posting on LinkedIn who has founded a company where he had lost 3 of his limbs at a very early age. Not even when they are grown up, at a very early age. But this person able to do some, I think he was able to get a degree, and now he has started his own company in helping people and doing work. So it's all about putting your beliefs into test and seeing whether is that true. So how can we do that? First, the strategy is to overcome these limiting beliefs and challenging our assumptions. First is self-reflection. You need to think about self, identify the beliefs that you have that hinders the growth. That's the first thing. Just how can you do? You can sit in a calm place, or even while you're working. I know our minds roam here and there. So when our minds start to roam, you can just try to think, what is hindering me? What are the assumptions that I should be putting to test and seeing whether it's true? The other thing is to seek deep perspective, engage with opposing viewpoints in the mind and try to argue. And then another thing is you have to tell yourself that is the first time you try to do something, you won't become successful. That's some hard truth that we need to understand, and we need to believe. It's first time you don't get anything correct, it's highly unlikely, and you need to perceive, you need to continue, you need to come back. As I told in one of the early videos, that you have to come back to your goals. That's how you are able to get things done. So my dear friends, it was a long video. I have spoken my idea. If you have been here until this point in the video, I really appreciate you being with me and listening to me what I was telling. Well, so if you are a person who was watching the entire video, I strongly recommend to think about. We might have at least one assumption, thought that is limiting ourselves. That would help us at least 1% of the growth. So 1% is better than nothing. Well, therefore, try to reflect on yourself. You don't have to tell anyone. You don't have to comment, but try to think what's limiting and how can you put that into test. That's the whole idea of this video. So thank you so much for being here in the video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Keep winning.